right, so get ready, because today we're really diving into something pretty interesting. We're going to be talking about Demi Moore's new horror movie, The Substance.
Right.
Which has gotten a lot of attention. And I mean, not just because it's got like a creepy premise, this whole idea of like a star who's kind of on their way down and they're looking for this like quick fix to get back that youthful look. But also because it feels like it's hitting pretty close to home for Demi Moore herself.
And that's what's so interesting about The Substance. It's not trying to be like a straight-up biography of her life or anything.
Right.
But it's really smart about using her own experiences, as a jumping-off point to explore these bigger ideas.
Yeah.
About Hollywood, about aging, and like that whole pressure to like maintain a certain image.
Yeah. Especially for women. I mean, it really feels like the whole movie is like a commentary on the cost of fame.
It is.
Particularly for women. And I think it makes it even more fascinating when you think about Demi Moore's history.
Right.
And how open she's always been about the stuff she's gone through.
Right.
Both in her personal life and in her career.
Oh, absolutely. To really understand this connection, though, we've got to like rewind a bit. So Demi Moore, she was born in 1962, had kind of a tough childhood.
Okay.
That dad wasn't around, and, she had a difficult upbringing in general, and she just dives headfirst into acting at 16.
Wow.
Which I think really shows that ambition and drive that she's become known for.
Yeah, talk about jumping into the deep end.
Yeah.
16 years old, she leaves high school to act, and then like, boom, her career explodes in the 80s and 90s.
Totally.
You've got these huge movies like St. Elmo's Fire, Ghost.
Iconic.
I mean, she became one of the highest paid actresses out there practically overnight.
She was everywhere.
It seemed like she was everywhere and taking on these really different roles. I mean, you go from A Few Good Men to Indecent Proposal,
right?
Even pushing boundaries with striptease.
Exactly.
Like, she was unstoppable.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about box office numbers or anything like that. She became like this huge cultural icon.
Right.
Demi was setting fashion trends. She was changing what it meant to be a powerful woman in Hollywood.
Yeah.
She really became a symbol for a whole generation. But here's the thing, though. Behind that like captivating smile and that glamorous image, there was a whole different story unfolding.
And that's what I think makes it so interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because Demi Moore has never really shied away from those like tougher parts of her life.
That's true.
You read her memoir Inside Out, and it's so raw and honest about everything.
Yes.
Her struggles with addiction, how fame took a toll on her mentally and emotionally, and other personal challenges that she's dealt with. And I think that openness makes you really understand why a film like The Substance, with its themes of obsession and addiction.
Totally.
And that dark side of fame feels so connected to her own story.
Exactly. It's that willingness to be so vulnerable, to put those raw emotions out there that makes both her memoir and this role in The Substance so captivating. Because it's not just a horror film, right? It's more of a commentary on these pressures that women in Hollywood face, especially as they get older.
And it's not like some abstract concept or anything.
Right.
Think about the media frenzy around her when she was first becoming famous.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, this was like peak tabloid journalism.
It was ruthless.
Everything about her life was scrutinized, relationships, career, moves, her appearance.
Everything.
So it's no wonder that the character in The Substance, who's like haunted by this fear of becoming irrelevant and desperate to hold on to her youth, that it resonates with people who know Demi's story.
And it's really interesting how The Substance kind of takes that media scrutiny and like puts it through this horror movie filter. You know what I mean? Like it uses those genre elements to really drive home how intense that pressure is, that constant scrutiny.
Right.
It's like it becomes this monstrous thing in your life.
Right.
And I think it's especially relevant when you look at the roles Demi Moore was taking on back then.
Yeah, it's like her career chases become even more interesting when you view them through that lens.
Exactly.
It's not like she was just taking whatever roles came along.
No.
She was challenging expectations left and right.
Yes.
I mean, you think about striptease, where she's like right there confronting all those societal norms.
Totally.
And then G.I. Jane shaving her head.
Such a bold move.
Which was like a huge deal at the time.
Totally subverting those traditional beauty standards.
Exactly. It was a statement.
They were statements, those roles.
Yeah.
And it's even wilder when you remember that while she's out there breaking barriers on screen,
right,
she's dealing with those same pressures to maintain a certain image off screen.
It's true.
It's like this weird duality, this contrast between the public persona and the private struggles.
And I think that's what makes The Substance resonate on such a deeper level.
100%.
It's like she's always been a part of this conversation about body image and the expectations placed on women.
Right.
Even before it was something people were really talking about openly.
Yeah, and to see her take on a role like this in The Substance, where those same issues are front and center, it adds a whole other dimension to the film's message.
For sure.
And that's where I think The Substance becomes more than just another horror film.
Okay.
It sparks this bigger conversation about the cost of fame, the unrealistic expectations on women in Hollywood, and people going to extremes to find that fountain of youth.
Right.
Like, it's holding up a mirror to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And making us confront these uncomfortable truths.
So it sounds like This Substance is definitely getting people talking.
It is.
But what about the critics?
Yeah.
I mean, have they picked up on this, like, layered aspect of the film?
Yeah.
Are they praising it for its depth, or are they just dismissing it as like another horror flick?
You know, the critical reception has been surprisingly mixed.
Okay.
I mean, there are definitely some reviewers who point out problems with the pacing and some of the plot elements. But pretty much across the board, people are praising Demi Moore's performance.
Yeah, that's not surprising, though.
Right.
Given her talent and just the way she seems to put so much of herself into her role.
Absolutely.
What are the critics actually saying about her performance?
They're saying things like fearlessly authentic.
Wow.
Raw.
Interesting.
The Hollywood Reporter even said it's as if she's channeling her own encounters with the dark side of fame directly into this character.
Wow.
A lot of critics seem to think this is some of her best work yet.
So it sounds like she's really tapped into something special with this role.
I think so.
Something that goes beyond just the horror genre.
Yeah.
But what about the film as a whole?
Right.
Even with its flaws, do you think it gets its message across? Does it offer something more than just entertainment? So we're talking about this movie that's being called both flawed and fascinating.
Yeah.
It seems like The Substance, even if it's not some perfect film, has tapped into something really powerful.
I think so.
Something that people connect with.
Definitely.
Beyond just like your typical horror movie fan.
Yeah, and I think that impact comes from how The Substance kind of blurs the lines between Demi Moore's real life and the characters she plays.
Right.
It makes you wonder, like, does knowing her story make the film better? Or do the film's flaws kind of overshadow the message?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, we have this incredibly personal performance that seems to be informed by her own experiences. It says a lot about the pressures women in Hollywood deal with.
It does.
But then you have to think about the film itself.
Right.
Does it rely too much on those typical horror tropes?
Yeah.
Could it even be seen as exploitative in some way?
And that's exactly what makes the conversation around The Substance so interesting.
Right.
We're talking about aging, about these impossible beauty standards, the price of fame, and ultimately the roles women are expected to play, both on and off screen.
Yeah.
The fact that this film gets people talking like this, that it makes you think critically about these issues, it really shows how willing Demi Moore is to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To share her story, even painful parts.
For sure. You know, it just struck me that The Substance and Demi Moore's career kind of have this common thread.
Oh, how so?
They both challenge that idea of fading away quietly.
Interesting.
Of like disappearing gracefully when you're not in the spotlight anymore.
Right.
It's like both the film and Demi herself are saying, we're still here and we have something to say.
Yeah, you're right. The Substance, even with its flaws, it doesn't shy away from difficult realities.
Right.
It confronts these themes of aging and societal expectations head on, just like Demi Moore has throughout her career.
Exactly.
There's this fearlessness there.
Yeah.
A refusal to be silenced.
And it's definitely a film and a career that make you think.
Definitely.
Makes you question the stories we tell ourselves about aging beauty and success, especially for women in the public eye.
Right.
And I really think that's a sign of any impactful art, whether it's perfect or not.
I agree.
It sticks with you. You keep thinking about it.
Starts a dialogue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Demi Moore's The Substance.
Fascinating film.
A film that feels just as much about her life as it does about the characters. We want to hear from you, though.
Yes.
Does the film's connection to Demi's own story make it better?
Yeah.
Or do its problems get in the way?
Let us know.
Let us know in the comments, and until next time, keep diving deep.